Hey everybody, it's time once again for another installment of Friday Trivia. 5 questions. These are true or false today. Guaranteed that at least one or two of these are going to stump you. I would venture to say that nobody is going to get 100% on this one. These are some good questions if I do say so myself. Alright, the way this works is I will show you the question on the left-hand side of your screen. I'll give you a chance to pause the video after I ask the question, give you a chance to think about it. When you come up with your answer, unpause the video, and I will show you the correct answer. So, here we go. You ready? Here we go. First question, true or false? One way to measure temperature is by counting cricket chirps. One way to measure temperature is by counting cricket chirps. True or false? Go ahead and pause the video, and I'll be back in just a second with the right answer. Okay, got your answer? Here we go. The answer is true. You can actually count the number of chirps, and it will go up directly proportionally with the temperature. So the warmer the temperature it is, the more cricket chirps you'll hear. Now, I did this as an experiment when I was in about, I think it was 5th or 6th grade. It was really fun. You have to wait for the summertime, obviously, summer and fall, when the crickets are out there. And you got to focus on one cricket chirp. You can't get too close to the cricket because it'll stop chirping. So you kind of focus your ear on one cricket, and then you count the number of chirps. And a fun activity for later this summer is to draw a graph. Go out one night, count the number of chirps in 1 minute, measure the temperature. Graph that, and you'll come out with a nice straight line, roughly straight. So that's something for later on this summer. All right, get you with that one? Maybe I'll get you with this one. Question 2, true or false? A blizzard can happen when no snow is falling. Pardon the typo there. A blizzard can happen when no snow is falling. True or false? Go ahead and pause the video, and I'll give you the correct answer in just a moment. Okay, got your answer? A blizzard can happen with no snow falling. The answer is true. A blizzard is defined as winds of greater than 35 miles per hour and visibility at a quarter mile or less. Now, both of those have to be true for 3 hours in order for an actual blizzard to happen. Notice there's nothing mentioned about snow falling. Matter of fact, in the upper Midwest, you can get what's called a ground blizzard. That's when you have real dry, powdery snow that's being blown all over the place by 70-mile-an-hour winds on the backside of a cyclone or a big storm, and you can get ground blizzard conditions. Around here, typically when we think of a blizzard, it does involve snow falling, but it also involves a lot of blowing snow as well. All right, question 3, true or false? Another one. One safe place to be during a thunderstorm is inside of a vehicle, an automobile, and that's because of the vehicle's rubber tires. True or false? Okay, got your answer? A lot of you probably think that that's true, but it's actually false. It has nothing to do with the tires on your car. And if you want proof of that, you go check out the lightning exhibit when it opens back up at the Museum of Science in Boston. You'll notice that they have a person inside of a big metal cage. And they shoot lightning at that cage, and it never touches the person on the inside. That's because the lightning actually travels along the outside of the cage. And your car, your vehicle, acts exactly like that cage. The lightning will travel along the outside of your car. So long as your windows are up and you're not touching anything electronic or anything, you're fine inside of your car. Of course, if the wind is blowing and you happen to get inside near a tornado, for example, car is the worst place to be, one of the worst places to be. You really want to be inside a sturdy building if you're in the path of a tornado or a major storm like that, just in case the wind starts blowing. All right, another true or false question. Hurricane names were only women's names, female names, until 1979. True or false? All right, got your answer? The answer is actually true. You see, women's names started to be used in 1953. Before that, it was a combination of an Army and Navy phonetic alphabet. But when they started changing that phonetic alphabet, well, they figured, you know what? Rather than confuse things, we'll start using women's names. And the first woman's name to be used in 1953 was Alice. Now, men's names didn't come into the mix until 1979, and a familiar name to some of us, most of us probably, Bob. We were hit by Hurricane Bob in 1991. Now, Bob was actually the first male name used in the naming convention starting in 1979, and that list rotates every 6 years, which is why every 6 years you get a repeat name. Now, if that name gets retired, obviously it won't be used again. Some of them that I can think of right off the top of my head: Andrew. That's what AJ stands for, Andrew John. But Andrew won't get used again. That was retired after it hit Florida in 1992. And of course, Katrina is another one that will never be used again. Harvey also, I think, was retired as well. All right, one more question. True or false? One way to measure humidity, or the amount of moisture in the air, is with human brunette hair. True or false? Go ahead and think about that one. Okay, got your answer? Did I throw a little curveball at you? The answer is false. You gotta be a blonde to use your hair. You know that frizz factor that we talk about every time it gets really humid? Oh, it's a bad hair day. There's actually something to be said for that. Your hair actually lengthens a little bit when it gets more humid outside. Now, in my case, and I like to keep it nice and high and tight where I do have hair, because my hair does frizz. Brunette hair, especially darker hair, curls a lot when it gets very humid outside. Blonde hair doesn't get as curly usually, so that's why blonde human hair can be used in what's called a hair hygrometer. Yeah, that's what it's actually called, and you can actually get a gauge for it's attached to a bunch of levers, and you can actually get a sense for how much moisture is in the air by flipping this thing around, and it's actually made of human blonde hair, or horse hair can also be used. You take all the oils out of that hair, and then you can use that in that machine or that contraption to measure the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. Did you get all of those? Be truthful. I know I stumped you on at least one of those. Hope you had fun on this edition of Friday Trivia. We'll see you again next week with another round of trivia questions all about weather, geology, geography, and anything else I can cram in there. Have a great day, everybody.